go. Welcome to VOR Tuesday Night Live. I guess I just decided to call it that. We're going to be doing the YouTube show every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern for about an hour, hopefully for the foreseeable future. That's the plan. We'll see how it all goes. We have a very, very busy month ahead of us here at VOR. We've got an interview tomorrow with a amateur researcher of science in Israel who is using hallucinogenics and refracted laser to do a science experiment where everybody that does this experiment is seeing data, ones and zeros, coding in the refracted laser. It's really crazy. Really cool thing. So I interview him tomorrow. You may have seen him here on TikTok. His name is Daniel, I believe, Golair. So we've got that interview. And then next week we're interviewing Alessandro, the Italian scientist who wrote a paper questioning the Big Bang and was promptly basically dismissed from science. And now he's a mechanical engineer. And he's, he worked his whole life to be a scientist. And it's really a bummer that happened. So I'm going to be filming those in the next 10 days and then editing them somehow and getting them out. In addition to that, I'm releasing a video, which is the topic for tonight, probably Thursday. The video that I'm releasing is looking at Jack Horner. I was thinking of Michael Crichton because of Jurassic Park. Michael Crichton wrote in an paleontologist into the movie Jurassic Park, and the paleontologist is modeled after this Jack Horner guy. Jack Horner is the head paleontologist alive today. He's like 95, and he's the guy kind of gatekeeping the soft tissue in dinosaurs not being because dinosaurs were here more recently than we thought, that is just cross-linking or whatever. So that's going to be the point of tonight's show, and we're going to get that hopefully released, that 8 or 10 minute video for TikTok and YouTube on Thursday. That's the goal. And then I have to finish the next top 5 video by the following Sunday, basically. So we're cramming here. But tonight's show, I know I've been covering the age of the Earth, the age of the universe. And when I do these kind of modes, or these modules, whatever you'd want to call them, I focus on deep dive research into something like the age of the Earth or the age of the universe. And when I do, I uncover all of this information. And basically, the reason I called soft tissue and dinosaur bones the number one evidence of a young Earth is this thing is legitimate. There is soft tissue in dinosaur bones. DNA has a 500-year half-life. Carbon has a 5,000-year half-life. Every bit of carbon material is assumed to be degraded past recognition after at most 50,000 years. Well, you need a lot more time than 50,000 years to go from T-Rex to chicken. I'm simplifying. I don't know. I think a T-Rex isn't what they call an avian dinosaur, but you go from dinosaur to chicken, and that takes a lot of time. In order to have evolution at all, you have to have a very long time. So you make a prediction like, yeah, you find dinosaur fossils, and they're just stone. Everything's gone. And then they crack them open, they find out that there's soft tissues in the dinosaur bones. Obviously, I covered Mark Armitage. I've covered Mary Schweitzer. The point of tonight's show is to look at the relationship between Mary Schweitzer and Jack Horner, and really look at who this Jack Horner guy is, and look to see if there's anything kind of nefarious going on. Spoiler, there is. He's a rigid atheist. He has a old Earth, deep time evolutionary bias. He's a very open atheist. And a young Mary Schweitzer went into his classroom and said, I'm a young Earth creationist. And he said, I'm an atheist. And he converted her to old Earth. And now Mary Schweitzer is like kind of this walking billboard for deep time and decrying young Earth creation. So a really bizarre relationship there. I sense something, a deeper psychologic thing. I don't know, bullying, handling something like this. So we're going to cover a little bit of that today. And I'm going to show the research Jack Horner's doing, which what he's basically been doing for 20 years, getting a lot of money, and a lot of money from the NSF, National Science Foundation, which is taxpayer funded, to progress this research of building a dinosaur chicken. How silly is this? That's silly, isn't it? Okay, so let's start with the official narrative. And I kind of been doing this on the show. I don't mean to follow like an exact procedure here, but We've covered how they teach that the Earth was built on fireballs and, rocks that flew in the Great Bombardment, and that eventually comets flew in that delivered water, and that's how you get the Earth, and this is how you get water, etc. Well, that is the opposite of what the Bible says, and the opposite of what science says. So this one we're going to look at today is we're going to look at how dinosaurs turned into chickens. And I want to start by showing you Pakicetus. You've seen the Pakicetus story, that Pakicetus turns into a whale. Little teeny Pakicetus, little running around dog Pakicetus turns into a whale. It's crazy. So this is the official story if you hadn't seen it. How do we get a whale from Pakicetus? How do we get a chicken from a dino? Apparently you can evolve from tiny to huge and huge to tiny, water to sea, sea to air, whatever. Just whatever they need. It's like a Swiss Army knife of explaining anything. I haven't heard the actual sound here. I think it's just music though, so it's going to be on 2x speed. But this is American Museum of Natural History, and it's the official narrative of how we get whales. All right, see what you think. Dinosaurs never went away. Okay. I'm old enough to remember what killed the dinosaurs, this whole thing. What killed the dinosaurs? Was it a comet or a whatever? Well, the flood makes sense, right? This is why we see dinosaurs in the death pose and very prominent in these areas where these massive floods happened, like the Pacific Northwest, Hell Creek in Montana, for example. Well, the official story is now that dinosaurs weren't extincted. They just, first off, life arose on Earth through natural life as a product of evolutionary change. Of course, that's what it is. Not design. We know it's not design. It wasn't recent. It's definitely from evolution. Dinosaurs never went away. The chicken in your backyard, or at least in my backyard, is just a dinosaur. So one dinosaur group gave rise to the animals we call birds. So the story gets kind of weird, right? Some dinosaurs were extincted. They got hit by the comet, like a little bit of comets hit some of the dinosaurs, but not all the dinosaurs. And there was already birds, and then there was dinosaurs and birds, and some of the birds lived, and some of the birds became dinosaurs, whatever. But I like when they're showing this animation, because I was trying to find the progress from actual dinosaur to actual chicken. All I have are these weird edits where you don't actually see the transformation, you just see like a weird cutaway. Because imagine actually seeing how ridiculous this would be. I just realized I was trying to show you Pakicetus first. Okay, look, there's that edit. By the way, this isn't Pakicetus turning into a whale. I put the wrong video on. Look, this bird went into that bird. He just disintegrated and turned into the bird. He disintegrated into that bird, and he got the colorful feathers, and he's flying around, and then he flew into this triumphant turtle bird. And this is how we get this. This is how we get chickens. And that bird. And the white bird. Apparently the white bird also was a dinosaur. This doesn't make intellectual, intuitive sense. The first time anybody hears this story that dinosaurs are just now chickens, they laugh. And I'm going to show you this here in a minute. It's illogical. It's not consistent with observable reality, measurable observable reality. And nobody actually believes this, right? And now they're starting to go, oh, there's always been feathers. It wasn't scales, it is feathers. The scales and feathers. And they're just going to change the narrative. And eventually it's just going to be fact. Yeah, well, there's birds. Everybody's going to go, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Because if you say it doesn't make sense, they make fun of you. And you're going to see Jack Horner actually do this here in a little bit. So they tell you this is how birds happened. Dinosaurs turned into birds. Okay, this is the same story, in my opinion, as this little friendly guy, also animated, named Pakicetus. This is one of the greatest proofs of evolution in their opinion, according to like Berkeley and these other places. Greatest proof of evolution is that Pakicetus, they come out of the water, they go back into the water. I'm going to talk about that for a second. If you know the story, we come from the water. We crawl out of the water, we get to the land. We're like, oh, land is way better than water. Like a mermaid, we're everything. And then it's like, they're like, well, you know what? This land thing isn't all it cracked up to be. Sure, it took us 200 million years to get here, but now we want to go back in. We want to go out of the water, into the air, lose your flight, whatever. Pakicetus, according to the official story, They even showed it in here. Crawled out of the water first. Tiktaalik. Here we go. I hate the water. Oh, no, go back in. Everybody back to the pile. Right? Then they get giant. This is one of my problems. Oh, and then they show this as a proof, obviously. The legs, which aren't vestigial legs. They're the anchoring point for the whale penis. We've talked about that before. So they show the proof, which isn't proof. It's just a misinterpretation of the data. 10,000 times bigger. Yeah, I'm going to get huge. Isn't that crazy? How could I get so big? Well, of course you can get that big because underwater, whatever gravity doesn't matter or the niche doesn't matter. So we just need to make you giant. And then you eat the shark eats the dolphin and then you have a whale, right? Super easy to follow. No questions here. And I thought it actually showed it, but it doesn't. 10,000 times bigger. It's the size of an airplane. Yeah. So we in intelligent design are constantly accused of believing in a fairy tale, right? And sometimes I'll put a backboard on my TikTok live and it'll say, the theory of evolution is a fairy tale. And people go, what do you mean it's a fairy tale? That's what I mean. Disintegrating firebirds, whales, dogs turning into whales 10,000x and into the water, out of the water, whatever. It's just whatever. We all believe something, but it's to me it's a absolutely extravagant claim, and the evidence to support it is nowhere near there, in my opinion. This is going to be about 3 minutes. Now, I wanted to look at the official narrative of how this happened. We believe that they were created. Obviously, whales were created, dinosaurs were created, chickens were created. None of this happened, that's what I believe. What we're going to look at now is Jack Horner. And I should have disclosed this at the beginning of this live. There's a video. I mentioned it in the pre-intro, which I cut out of here, just when I'm getting everybody in here, whatever, and then I cut it out after this broadcast is over. But there was a video shared to me on our Discord of a Denver radio show host, Dave, somebody, I can't remember his name, unfortunately. He ran a show for 15 years, and he had acquired enough support to offer Jack Horner $20,000 to carbon date his soft tissue dinosaur bones. And the conversation is he had recorded himself calling in and talking to Jack. I don't think Jack knew that he was going to be recorded. That's probably not fair. I don't know what's fair in the information war. The Denver radio show, unfortunately passed because of COVID. I can't interview him because of that. But Jack very clearly lets on why he doesn't want the dino tissue carbon dated, which seems very unscientific to me. So that's that's going to be kind of the finale of this. I imagine we get there in about 30, 40 minutes. It's an 8-minute interview. I can share that link in the description. Or you can just watch it here because I'm going to watch the whole video. It's like 8.5 minutes. So we need to know a little bit about Jack Horner. First off, Jack Horner is the paleontologist that the lead character, Aaron Grant maybe his name is, the paleontologist in Jurassic Park. There's bugs in here, guys. Sorry, I'm trying to keep them off my neck. The lead character in Jurassic Park, played by Sam Neill, is a paleontologist modeled after Jack Horner. He was the inspiration for this paleontologist. And Jack Horner is today, I believe he's alive today, and he's still trying to build, with this kind of mad scientist fervor, a dinosaur out of a chicken. He's trying to prove evolution and prove that he's Mengele, whatever, it's a bad comp, but, doing genetic manipulation, whatever. Days of Noah stuff, it seems like. Anyways, he's beaten that drum, and he's gotten a lot of funding supporting this idea that evolution is real. Soft tissue dinosaurs definitely isn't, because dinosaurs were here more recently than we thought. And he's going to build robot chickens. You probably see a YouTube video every so often. Oh, scientist is creating a robot chicken. Well, they haven't created it. And he's way past his deadline. And we're going to show that as well. Anyways, this is Jack Horner. This is a little bit about him. The inspiration for Jurassic Park. This is Hell Creek, Montana. This is in the area, it's called the Badlands. this whole washout of the Pacific Northwest, where all of the water, as the floodwaters receded, broke through the dam at the Lake Missoula and flooded out to the Pacific Ocean, this is in that area. We would expect to see a lot of dinosaurs having been wiped up into the flood here, and this is where I believe the most dinosaurs are found in the nation, is in this hotbed in this area that was clearly ravaged by floods. Anyways, Hell Creek Formation. This is Jack Horner talking about his finding of the soft tissues and his convincing the world that dinosaurs are chickens by creating a dinosaur chicken that he can't create. Here we go.
A few years went by, and then we started the Hell Creek Project. And the Hell Creek Project was this massive undertaking to get as many dinosaurs as we could possibly find, and hopefully find some dinosaurs that had more material in them. And out in eastern Montana, there's a lot of space, a lot of badlands, and not very many people, and so you can go out there and find a lot of stuff. And we did find a lot of stuff. We found a lot of tyrannosaurs, but we found one special tyrannosaur, and we called it B-Rex. And B-Rex was found under 1,000 cubic yards of rock. It wasn't a very complete T-Rex, and it wasn't a very big T-Rex, but it was a very special B-Rex. I and my colleagues cut into it, and we were able to determine by looking at lines of arrested growth, some lines in it, that B-Rex had died at the age of 16. We don't really know how long dinosaurs lived because we haven't found the oldest one yet. But this one died at the age of 16. We gave samples to Mary Schweitzer, and she was actually able to determine that B-Rex was a female based on medullary tissue found on the inside of the bone. Medullary tissue is the calcium buildup, the calcium storage basically when an animal is pregnant, when a bird is pregnant. So here was a character that linked birds and dinosaurs. But Mary went further. She took the bone and she dumped it into acid. Now, we all know that bones are fossilized. And so if you dump it into acid, there shouldn't be anything left. But there was something left.
We all know that bones are fossilized. So if you burn them in acid, there shouldn't be anything left. Nothing should be left. But there was. Okay, Jack, strike one.
There were blood vessels left.
Blood vessels.
There were flexible, clear blood vessels. And so here was the first soft tissues from a dinosaur. It was extraordinary. But she also found osteocytes, which are the cells that laid down the bones. And try, we could not find DNA, but she did find evidence of proteins. But we thought maybe that the material was breaking down after it was coming out of the ground. We thought maybe it was deteriorating very fast. And so we built a laboratory in the back of an 18-wheeler trailer.
So this tissue has lasted 2 million zillion years, 68 million years. But they're like, you know what? This is now in the air. It's going to totally degrade in like 5 minutes. We have to spend more of the government's money and build this super tech van. That's funny. It's like really, these things are very indestructible for millions and millions of years, and then all of a sudden, they're just going to totally collapse.
We actually took the laboratory to the field where we could get better samples. And we did. We got better material. The cells looked better. The vessels looked better. Found the protein collagen. I mean, it was wonderful stuff, but it's not dinosaur DNA. So we have discovered that dinosaur DNA and all DNA just breaks down too fast. We're just not going to be able to do what they did in Jurassic Park. We're not going to be able to make a dinosaur based on...
This is a side note. There's another video project I'm working on, the discovery of a tropical landscape under Greenland, where they found 2 million year old plus DNA sitting in soil. It's sitting in soil. It never goes away. It just exists forever in soil. Jack's like, wait, it's just not going to last that long. Well, except for if it's on the dirt in Greenland. Apparently it lasts forever.
A dinosaur. But birds are dinosaurs. Birds are living dinosaurs. We actually classify them as dinosaurs. We now call them non-avian dinosaurs and avian dinosaurs. So the non-avian dinosaurs are the big clunky ones that went extinct. Avian dinosaurs are our modern birds. So we don't have to make a dinosaur. So I already have them. I know you're as bad as the sixth graders, right? The sixth graders look at it and they say, no. You can call it a dinosaur, but look at the velociraptor. The velociraptor is cool.
All right, I have to take a pause here. Welcome to how modern science works. I have been talking about this on this show for absolutely months, almost 2 years. This is how you control the narrative. You force people to believe something illogical, that their intuition says no way, and then when they say, I don't believe you, I don't believe that human beings are just animals and we're no different than a chimpanzee, or we're just an evolved chimpanzee. The first time you were told the animals and the chimpanzees, we are the same. You and me, we are the same. You laughed. You said no. You said no. There's no way. And then the teacher looked at you and said, are you doubting me? Are you doubting my authority? Now you look stupid in front of all of these people. You look stupid in front of all of these people. And you go, well, I don't want to ever have that happen again. I don't want to look stupid in front of all these people. I'm sorry, authority. You were right, I'm wrong. This is like a social experiment. Jack Horner is saying that, well, they're classified as birds. So they are birds. And then he goes, we don't need dinosaurs because dinosaurs are birds. And the whole room just doesn't do anything. They just sit there very awkwardly. And Horner looks at all of them and he goes, you're as bad as a sixth grader. You guys are you're laughing at me. I'm telling you this absolutely ridiculous idea that birds are actually dinosaurs. And you're all laughing at me because you don't understand science. This is the psychological operation that we're under. When I say that we're gaslit and we're bullied and we have to listen and we have to forfeit our intuition, this is how we end up believing something like everything came from nothing and became more organized over time and we're all just animals in a meaningless universe and birds are dinosaurs and the dog turned into a whale. Because nobody actually believes it. I've been saying this for a long time. Nobody actually believes that this happens. They just believe that they're smart if they say that they believe it. Jack Horner shows you right here. Like I've been very clear already. I'm concerned about his relationship with Mary Schweitzer. Maybe there'll be fallout from this and they'll want to reach out to me and they can straighten this thing out. I'll show you some of my reasons as to why I think so. But watch this again through my eyes, through what I see with them, with this guy being the arbiter of truth, the venerated professor of paleontology that the Jurassic Park thing was modeled after. The Jurassic Park guy was modeled after. A hero, basically. You can't question Jack Horner. He knows these things and you don't. And if you do question him, he'll laugh at you and say you're as bad as a sixth grader. You think that's a good thing? You think that's a good thing to tell an adult intellectually you're a sixth grader? You think that's a healthy psychological approach to teaching Jack Horner? You think that's good teaching, Jack Horner? You're a sixth grader. You have the mind of a sixth grader. Because you don't understand me, and I represent science.
Clunky ones that went extinct, avian dinosaurs are our modern birds.
They are.
So we don't have to make a dinosaur. So I already have them. I know you're as bad as the sixth graders, right?
So he waits for them to respond. And instead of applauding, I guess maybe somebody starts awkwardly giggling. They don't know. He's like, and everybody starts giggling. And he goes, you're as bad as a sixth grader. And they all laugh. It wasn't me. It was the guy next to me, Jack. It wasn't me. It was the guy next to me, Jack. I would never laugh at you, Jack, Lord Jack, the Knight of Science. I didn't laugh, and if I did, it's because I'm stupid, but I'm not stupid anymore. I won't question you again, Jack Horner. I want you to put a mental note in your mind in this, at this moment, timestamp this, when I show you the phone call at the end of this video. Who this guy is. Look at him looking. And they train for this. I mean, the NPR guys, Walter Cronkite, they know that if they speak at a certain speed, that it calms you down. It affects you in like a certain subconscious way where you're more likely to listen to them. They speak with authority. They say very ridiculous things, and they say it with a stone face. And if you question them, everybody laughs at you because the person with the microphone is the guy. And it will always work. Nothing new under the sun. It will always work. Look at him looking at them. How are they going to react? And they start giggling. And his face of disapproval, and you're all just sixth graders. And he goes on with it. He goes on with it. And in the middle of this, I want you to know, what does the Bible say about the innocence of children and the wisdom of children out of the mouth of babes, right? Children get it. You know why? Because they don't have biases, and they don't have authority complexes, and they haven't been domesticated, and their ability to critically think hasn't been washed out of their minds. They have heart and creativity, and they get it. They are brilliant. If you think a sixth grader is inferior intellectually, Jack Horner or anybody, you're wrong. You are probably inferior. We are probably inferior because we've let the difficult nature of this reality and all of the people trying to control us affect us, and we don't think as clearly as them. They might not have enough, might not have as much knowledge, right? Because they've only aggregated a certain amount over a finite amount of time, but their ability to deduce is every bit as good as ours, Jack. A baby, a blabbering baby, baby, learns the language you speak by watching you speak. Okay? The baby is, you think you taught your baby how to speak. It didn't know what language was. It came downloaded in real time with the language module processing units in their brain, and all they have to do is look at, when you do this sound with your mouth, people do a certain thing, and then they start replicating that sound, which is hard. So you got to learn how to drive your mouth and your tongue. And then once they start replicating it, mom, dad, man, whatever, they just immediately know language. If you are raised in a bilingual home, you learn 2 languages. If it's trilingual home, you learn 3 languages. They're brilliant. Jack is telling you here that the only way you can be smart is if you're highly educated and you pay him the money to tell you what to think. And it works. Science. I'm not a fan.
I know you're as bad as the sixth graders, right? The sixth graders look at it and they say, no. You can call it a dinosaur.
The sixth graders look at you and they go, You're lying to us, Jack. My mom told me not to listen to strangers and not to lie. You're lying to me, Jack Horner. That's what the sixth grader told him. Sixth grader said, no, dinosaurs aren't chickens. This is not going to happen, Jack. But he doubles down.
But look at the velociraptor. The velociraptor is cool. The chicken is not. So this is our problem.
This is our problem. Who is our problem, Jack? And what exactly is the problem? That the sixth graders don't blindly listen to every word coming out of your pompous mouth? Is this your biggest struggle as a scientist? It's not money. Trust me, and I'm going to show you this. He has plenty of money. All he does is write a grant paper to the NSF, the National Science Foundation, funded by your money, by your taxpayer dollars. And he says, hey, I'm going to turn a robot, I want to turn a chicken into a dinosaur, I'm going to prove evolution, whatever. And they just go, yes, sir, Mr. Horner, and they give him $100,000 or $200,000. Every year, every 5 years, he's been doing it. He's got the ultimate racket. This guy has accomplished in his life, trying to convince the world that birds are dinosaurs. That's it. And he promised the world that he was going to sell them, to show proof of his work, a chicken that's actually a dinosaur. I'm going to show you later in the show. He promised in 2009 that in 5 years he'd have it. Does that sound like NASA or Origin of Life or any of these? Carrot on the stick. Don't worry. Just keep sending us money. I'm proving evolution. Did you question evolution? Are you a 6th grader? Send me money. Send me money. I will tell you what to think. And if you question me, I'm going to make fun of you in front of a lot of people. Nobody likes that. Here's your money, Jack. How much do you need? This is what the guy does. This is our problem. Our problem. Who is our and what is the problem? Jack. I'll tell you who our is and what the problem is. Our is science. Secular, religious science. That is who our is. And the problem is telling everyone to believe a cold lie about their reality. We are not animals. Chickens are not Tyrannosaurus rexes. The universe did not explode into existence and get better over time. DNA is not the cause of natural processes. This is our problem. You know, if you represent the truth, you don't have these kind of problems. You just kind of do the thing. You just say the thing. People believe it or not. You don't have to force 6th graders to believe that chickens are dinosaurs. This is our problem, as you can imagine, he says. But just wait till you see what he says next. If I stop talking, you'll be able to hear what he says next.
So this is our problem, as you can imagine. The chicken is a dinosaur. I mean, it really is. I mean, you can't argue with it because we...
I know, I keep saying I'm going to let this go. So he plays this game, right? Narcissists do this, sociopaths do this. Like, you ask them a question, they get it wrong, you blast them. Then you take it back a little bit. You go, actually, no, but like a compliment sandwich, right? Then you hit them again. Chickens, dinosaurs. Ha ha ha. You're stupid, you're a 6th grader. This is our problem, trying to convince you that this is happening. But chickens are dinosaurs. They are dinosaurs. And you can't question that they're dinosaurs. You actually can't question they're dinosaurs. And why? Why, Jack, can't we question that you're actually factually right? According to the science textbook, a chicken is a dinosaur. And look at why.
The chicken is a dinosaur. I mean, it really is. I mean, you can't argue with it because we're the classifiers and we classified it that way.
When I do these debates, these are the kinds of things in my mind. When I debated Danny the other day, and he said, is it a greater chance that a God created this reality or that nothing created this reality? And I won the argument in the first paragraph by saying the chances that the universe created itself and got better over time are 0. So immediately the idea that a God did it is a better option than 0. Or I guess you could call it equal if you want to, but because one begets the other, idealism versus materialism, it's more likely almost immediately that a God did this, a creator did this. You believe the creator did this and walked away, or did it and died, or it's a Super Friends League of Creators, whatever you want to believe. The idea that somebody created is more likely than it created itself and got better over time. It's their reality. They make the rules. They tell you what to believe. And by their definition, they are always going to win. And he does this thing. I'm going to let it play one time without interrupting it. And I want you to see this now for what it is. And this is just me getting B-roll and research for my video. It's a 2-minute video of him exposing the entire secular scientific complex. And then people come on my show or they challenge me and they go, peer review. It's got to be peer review. The gods of science haven't spoken, and they are the arbiters of truth. And I go, I'm not impressed by your arbiters of truth, because they're a bunch of pompous, hubris-filled, agenda-driven, biased priests of a religious system. Okay, I'll let it play through the whole time, and I won't stop it.
Are our modern birds. So we don't have to make a dinosaur. So I already have them. I know you're as bad as the 6th graders, right? The 6th graders look at it and they say, No. You can call it a dinosaur, but look at the velociraptor. The velociraptor is cool.
Again, the sixth graders got it right. No, you can call it a dinosaur. That's all you're doing is calling it a dinosaur. And he goes, yeah, that's all I'm doing is calling it a dinosaur, because I make the rules.
The chicken is not. So this is our problem, as you can imagine. The chicken is a dinosaur. I mean, it really is. I mean, you can't argue with it because we're the classifiers and we've classified it that way.
Bravo, Jack Horner. Bravo.
But the sixth graders demand it. Fix the chicken. So that's what I'm here to tell you about, how we're going to fix a chicken.
Do you see what he did there? He told them, you're the sixth graders. he said the whole thing. He laid the whole thing out. Laid the whole thing out there. You're as bad as a sixth grader. But we make the rules, and you have to believe what we say. And if you don't believe what we say, we're going to gaslight you. And I have to tell the sixth graders because they're still telling me it's not a thing. So that's what I'm doing here today. I'm talking to the sixth graders. You're a sixth grader. After you leave here, you will have graduated, and now you're certified because you won't question what I say. Jack Horner. What a guy. What a guy. I'm going to do this. I was going to do it next, but I'm going to do it first. I was going to do it next, but I'm going to, second video. I was going to do a video and then this. Hello. I was going to do a video and then show this, but I think this is a good time to show this here. Look at this. Support non-profit science journalism. It says this down here. You can't see it on the screen because it's below it, but yeah, I'm not going to support this, by the way. Defying conventional wisdom, Mary Schweitzer worked to transform dinosaur paleontology into molecular science. I'm going to scroll down here. This is the story of Schweitzer finding the soft tissue in dinosaur bones. And this is what I think is really important. A third-generation Montanan, Schweitzer, 62, grew up outside of Helena as the youngest of 3 children in a conservative Catholic family. You've seen me talk about this. The conversion rate from strict Catholicism to atheism is, I think, the greatest turnover rate that there is. I think Mormonism is kind of catching up. There's a lot of people with religious trauma largely will be able to walk away from it. There's a lot of things inside of Catholicism where people are like, I don't know, the hats and the statues and stuff. Her father, with whom she was very close, died of a heart attack when she was 16, and Schweitzer turned to fundamentalist Christianity for solace, embedding herself deeply in her new community. She also rejected evolution and adopted the belief that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. Is it a huge shock to anyone that this ends up boiling down to the young Earth creation debate? Horner doesn't say that, but at the very root of this, what is the center core of this thing? After earning an undergraduate degree in audiology, Schweitzer married and had 3 children. She went back to school at Montana State University in Bozeman for an education degree, planning to become a high school teacher, science teacher. But then she sat in on a dinosaur lecture given by Jack Horner, now retired from the university, the absolute vampire of, if you've seen the movie The Lost Boys, he's the dad vampire that ended up being the grand poobah of it. Retired from the university, who was the model for the paleontologist in the original Jurassic Park movie. After the talk, Schweitzer went up to Horner to ask whether she could audit his class. Hi, Jack. I'm Mary. Schweitzer recalls telling him, I'm a young Earth creationist. I'm going to show you that you are wrong about evolution. Jack. Oh, Jack. How do you think he responded to this? Hi, Mary. I'm Jack. I'm an atheist, he told her. Then he agreed to let her sit on the course. Over the next 6 months, Horner opened Schweitzer's eyes to the overwhelming evidence supporting evolution and Earth's antiquity. Of all of the ironies, that these are the 2 that disprove it. God's got a sense of humor. He didn't try to convince me, Schweitzer said. He just laid out the evidence. And you're not a 6th grader, are you, Mary Schweitzer? You want to be a professor, right? Here's the evidence. She rejected many fundamentalist views, a painful conversion. It cost me a lot. My friends, my church, and my husband. But it didn't destroy her faith. She felt that she saw God's handiwork in setting evolution in motion. In the 90s, she volunteered to work in Horner's lab, slicing pieces of T-Rex bone into sections for analysis. It just always comes down to something like this, doesn't it? This battle between God and the devil. Isn't it wild? Side note, I wasn't going to show this, but I am. If anybody here is a non-fan of Pelagia, by the way, Pelagia, whenever you want to debate me, I'm not impressed by your Jack Horner of atheist apologetics, and I will take any day, any time, any topic. I'm going to rewrite that. A day that works for me, a time that works for me, and a topic we agree upon, just in case. He's going to be like, I want to talk about something that I've never studied, and I'm going to get roasted on that. Okay, this guy is one of the reasons when I got into VOR, I wanted to do this, because just his smug, hubris, condescending attitude, I can't stand him. Sorry, but listen to this.
The very appropriate response, which is total skepticism. I'm going to wait and see what the data say.
You know, it's fascinating to look at the life of Dr. Schweitzer,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and what she's gone through. For those of you who don't know, she's involved in paleontology. That's kind of her background. She's worked with Jack Horner, who's a very famous atheist, by the way. And
paleontology.
And in paleontology, of course.
Jack Horner is really known only as a paleontologist, not as an atheist. He's best known as the technical advisor for all the Jurassic Park films and as partial inspiration for the character of Dr. Grant. But a famous atheist? Try to find Jack Horner making any public comment on the existence of God. You will not find.
That's not true. I found some. I'm going to find more, but that's not a true statement.
Apparently, Mary Schweitzer has a little bit of a Christian background in there.
Right.
And when she took the class, or I don't know if she was going to monitor the class or what she was going to do, but she told Dr. Horner that she was a young Earth creationist,
Right.
and he's like, well, I'm an atheist. And, it wasn't long, and she'd actually given up her views on Christianity.
I don't know what you mean by give up her views, but Dr. Schweitzer was never a young Earth creationist. Like most Christians around the world, she's always been a theistic evolutionist.
Essentially, at least for
Well,
the
at least
Is that you, Jack Horner? I was thinking about making a video exposing a clear, poorly researched lie. Mary Schweitzer wasn't a young Earth creationist, and now she is an atheistic evolutionist. But just a chance to take a shot at Pelagia. Just because you talk in a monotone voice when you tell Christians they're stupid and they're the scientists they believe, it doesn't make you smart or right. Okay? Cold lie. Bold-faced lie. Okay, back to this. This is Science Magazine. We know it's good because it's Science Magazine. Bonafide. Bonafide. Hi, Jack. I'm Mary I'm Mary. I'm a young Earth creationist. Despite what Pelagia says, I'm going to show you that you were wrong about evolution. Jack goes, let's do this, right? So he basically, in my opinion, sees a lot of potential here. She's got religious traumatic background. She's brilliant, and I think he's like, this is my Padawan learner. And he ends up mentoring her, which we get to in this next clip. You've seen me play this. It's about 2-3 minutes, but it's important. We're going to play it again. Mary Schweitzer talking about, where is it at? It's at 9 minutes, 8:57. Finding this soft tissue. This is from 2000. I looked this up earlier in the IMDb, and it was from 2009. I don't know if it has more in here. The original air date of this was 2010. That's when they posted it online, but it's actually, this originally aired in 2009.
Doll.
What happened next happened by mistake. Mary put some fragments of the bone in acid to dissolve away the outermost layer of mineral. But the acid worked too fast, and all the mineral dissolved away. Being a fossil, there should have been nothing left. But there was, and it was elastic, like living tissue.
This is the piece.
No. She showed us video she took under the microscope.
That's really what happened?
Yes.
That's the dinosaur bone?
Without mineral now. That's what was left.
It looked like the soft tissue she would have expected to find if it had been modern bone. This was impossible. This bone was 68 million years old.
So you see this and you think, what? You
I didn't want to tell anybody.
You'd be ridiculed,
Yes.
right?
And so I said to my technician, okay, do
Okay. I've showed this clip before, but does that give you a little bit more of a framework? Mary says, the lady, Leslie Stahl, or whoever it is, she says, what did you think? It's crazy, right? She goes, I didn't want to tell anybody. Because you'd be ridiculed. Yeah, I'd be ridiculed. Yeah. Because that's the scientific world we live in. I know I said this in my last deep dive. I'll make it quick. But instead of living in a world where the most exciting scientific discovery in recent history happens, this is exciting. Dinosaurs were here recently. Maybe these stories of the dragons are true. Maybe they died less than 10,000 years ago. That's cool. It would make sense why there's soft tissue in dinosaur bones, why people told the stories of the dragons. This is like, we were wrong. I hear all the time. Peer review. Gotta trust peer review. And I hear, there's no evidence of dinosaurs. There's no evidence of the flood. The standard, like, dismiss this out of hand narrative. You have to trust a scientist. And the other thing that I hear is that science can be wrong. You hear this all the time, right? Well, here's the thing. Religion can't be wrong, but science can be wrong. How many of you have heard people say that in my life? They say it all the time. On TikTok, they say it all the time. Science can be wrong. No, it can't. Science can be wrong if it doesn't matter. And the more it matters, the less they can't be wrong. Or they're going to lie about it and get as much time as they can out of it. If science could be wrong and peer review mattered, then there would be a peer-reviewed inquisition into the soft tissue situation. And if they were wrong, and it turns out dinosaurs were here more recently, they'd go, hey, we were wrong. Let's rewrite the textbooks. But what kind of rewrite of the textbooks would this be? Well, you'd lose the dino chickens real quick. But also, stratigraphy. Look at what's at stake with this thing. Stratigraphy. The assumption that certain layers are a certain, dispensation, a certain epoch. The deep time that we needed, hundreds of millions of years for these kinds of things. This dinosaur extinction happened very quickly, very recently. Dinosaurs were always potentially dinosaurs. Dinosaurs didn't turn into birds. And we don't, basically Darwinian evolution collapses. This is the stake of this thing. If science said, you know what, we're going to take this NSF money. I would love to see a poll. I would love to see a poll where people go, should the government, the federal government, the NSF, should they fund a deep inquisition into finding out if these dinosaurs were here more recently than we were taught? The Christians would love it. I imagine the people in the middle would love it. The atheists, the deep time creation, deep time evolutionists would say, no way. All of the academia, no way. Do not do it. Do not do it. Do not do it. Mary, you made the greatest discovery in the history of the world. Let me rephrase that. That was a little bit grand. You've made the greatest discovery in recent scientific history. Were you excited? You were excited, right? You just broke the paradigm. You just made the discovery. You were excited, right, Mary?
So you see this and you think, what?
I didn't want to tell anybody.
She didn't want to tell anybody. She finds this tissue and she doesn't go. Her indoctrination and training is so deep that she finds soft tissue. What did you think? I didn't want to tell anybody. Do you know what this is going to look like for me? Do you know what Jack is going to say? Do you know what Jack is going to do to me? When I talk about this, I hope you guys are seeing more clearly when I talk about us being under psychological abuse and in a toxic relationship with a psycho-abusive, dominating intellectual presence lording over us. What did you think when you found this? I didn't want to tell anybody. I was afraid. I didn't want to tell Jack. I didn't want to get fired. I knew what this could have meant. I wish I hadn't found it. This is where she's at. Reference Mark Armitage, who actually was fired for finding this.
See this and you think, what?
I didn't want to tell anybody.
You'd be ridiculed,
Yes.
right?
And so I said to my technician, okay, do it again. I don't believe it.
And yet, in sample after sample,
I don't believe it. I found it. I'm trying not to go too far into this because I understand she's an absolute real human. She's a Christian. She's our sister. I don't want to go too deep into it, but I see, and I'm just obviously not a psychologic assessor, professional. Anything I can say is valid, but I see like the kind of things somebody that's in an emotionally abusive relationship says and does. Hallmarks, inconsistencies, the story changes. In another interview, she's like, She's like, I only let the data speak for itself. Data can only do one of two things, confirm or deny. Jack has bolstered my faith. Jack has given me this amnesty. It's very bizarre. I watched about, 2 hours of this relationship between the two of them. And it's super concerning to me, if I'm honest. It's just, I could be looking way too far into it, but I don't believe it, she said. Well, remember, this is the girl who came in and said, I'm going to convince you about evolution's wrong. And now she finds something validating her prior belief system, and she goes, I don't believe it. I can't believe this. Why can't she believe it?
Well, they were there. Things that looked suspiciously like flexible, transparent blood vessels. She finally mustered the courage to tell Jack.
She said she dissolved the bone away and there were blood vessels. And, I was like shocked. I mean,
How could that be?
How could that be? That's right.
She finally mustered the courage to tell Jack. I know I did this in the deep dive, I'm sorry, but in context of this conversation, and we're about to show you who this Jack guy is, behind closed doors. She finally mustered the courage to tell her head professor, the head of the experiment, the head of the department, Jack, I got really bad news here, man. These are just soft tissue and dinosaur bones. Don't hurt me.
Courage to tell Jack.
She said she dissolved the bone away and there
Flexible, transparent blood vessels. She finally mustered the courage to tell Jack.
She said she dissolved the bone away and there were blood vessels. And, I was like shocked. I mean,
How could that be?
How could that be? That's right.
That face. Jack is, and I get it, man. I get it on this side. If something disproved the Bible or proved old earth creation or something, I get it. I would be like, am I making that face right? Crap. Because you become invested in these things. And this guy's got an entire career of investment in these things. This isn't the order I was planning, but if you guys want to have fun, like a true apologist nerd that I am, this is the NSF website for awarded grants, and I can send it to you if you would like. I did a search for John Horner, that's his real name. This is up to 3,000 results, although they're not all him. But yeah, evolution of North American upper Cretaceous dinosaurs and their terrestrial ecosystems, $220,000 in 1987. History of strategies of Cretaceous dinosaurs, John Horner again, $154,000 in 1993. Sociobiology and growth of dinosaurs, principal investigator John Horner, $63,000. Oh, amount, $108,000. We've got attempt to extract DNA from the Cretaceous dinosaur T-Rex. This is a big thing he's into. $38,000, 1993. Dinosaur ontology, embryology, and evolution, John Horner, $115,000. A novel dinosaurian tissue exhibiting unusual preservation, Mary Schweitzer and John Horner, $60,000. So this goes on and on. The point of me even sharing that is that he has made a career out of this, and he makes a lot of money doing this. And the scenario where everything that he was researching and discovering about the evolution of the dinosaur and the time and these whole things is wrong, he's just done. Like, borderline fraud, right? And I'm not trying, that's like a really heavy claim, I get that. But like a borderline fraud. Like, everything I've done my entire life is entirely wrong. Which, like, as a young earth creationist, if I started getting funding from the NSF, which, by the way, isn't going to happen, I'm not going to get funding from the NSF for looking into, hey, let's petition the NSF to give us $200,000 to look at the soft tissue of potentially being young. How about a $200,000 grant for carbon dating the soft tissue? I bet you the NSF isn't going to allow us that grant, huh? But I end up doing all these things at the end, and I'm like, you know what, I was totally wrong. Evolution totally happened. God isn't real, or whatever. At the end of it, I'd be like, ooh, this guy's like 90. So I get it. He's got a lot on this. But one of the things that he has on this, which is really interesting to me, is basically convincing the world that dinosaurs are chickens. We talked about that earlier. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit to this section right here.
On fossils. Jack is skeptical
It's relevant to where I'm going with this.
that the full dinosaur DNA sequence will ever be found. But that hasn't stopped him. He's come up with a whole new idea for his dream of making a dinosaur.
Okay, so he's given up on finding dinosaur and preserved dinosaur DNA, because that's not going to happen. But he's not giving up on making a robot chicken, so a dino chicken. So he's gonna come up with a new thing that they came from chickens. Like he could literally be making this whole thing up just so he could work. And I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not. Let me be very clear. I'm not making that claim with any kind of assertion. I'm saying that he's got a lot on this. That's all I'm saying. I've talked about NASA before, and I've talked about, they get their grants, and eventually we're going to get to the moon again. Eventually we're going to go to another planet, whatever. And we just throw all this money and nothing ever happens. And they say in 5 years we'll get there. In 10 years we'll get there. 2025, if things are really well, we're almost done with that spacesuit. And it's just a way to just keep getting free federal money, basically. Watch what he says here. He's making the dino chicken.
The best way is just to use a modern dinosaur, the chicken. Because evolution works, birds are actually carrying ancestral DNA.
Because evolution works.
Horner has written a book proposing a plan to mine that ancestral DNA as a way to reverse engineer a chicken into what he calls a dino chicken. It may seem improbable that this is carrying DNA from something like this, but when you think about it, birds, like the dinosaurs they evolved from, still walk on hind legs. Most have 3 toes pointing forward with 1 in the back, and they even all have wishbones.
Do you know how far it goes for them to play this kind of left side, right side? This is ridiculous, I know. They play that chicken clip as a joke, but don't laugh because you're not a 6th grader. And then she goes, it actually does make sense. And then she says, matter-of-factly, because birds evolved from dinosaurs. And then she goes on all the reasons. This ends up being fully promoting Jack Horner and his work. This whole thing. It's 60 Minutes, CBS, huge surprise, and it's fully supporting his work. But just watch how clever this is. Watch how they put this together.
It may seem improbable to reverse engineer a chicken into what he calls a dino chicken. It may seem improbable that this...
And they show the goofiest chicken ever. It may seem improbable that this is a T-Rex. Right? And they you go, that is weird. And then they bring it back down. They go, well, because kind of. And they go, and it is proof. I'm sure, I don't... Again, I should study psychology. I'm sure that this is a certain kind of tactic.
Is carrying DNA from something like this. But when you think about it, birds, like the dinosaurs they evolved from, still walk on hind legs. Most have 3 toes pointing...
Not the dinosaurs they may have evolved from. The dinosaurs they did evolve from. Remember, you're not a 6th grader.
...forward with 1 in the back, and they even all have wishbones. As for dinosaur features you don't see in modern chickens, like long tails, Horner's contention is they can be brought back, since you can still see them in embryos as little chicks grow.
As the chicken embryo develops, it does develop a fairly long tail before a gene kicks on and destroys it. So if we can stop that gene, we theoretically can get a chicken to hatch out with a relatively long tail.
So you're not saying actually change the gene.
Just switching a gene on or switching a gene off.
He says picture a chicken with a long tail, teeth, and little claw-like hands instead of wings.
So maybe there will be a dino chicken.
I'm sure there'll be a dino chicken.
You're sure there'll be a dino chicken?
I think we'll be able to make a dino chicken within the next 5 years.
Boy, I see a new movie coming.
This was released in 2009. It's been 13 years and change. You missed your deadline by thrice. We're almost at 15 years, Jack. I'd like to see your Mangalian, hideous, as it was in the days of Noah, genetic manipulation thing you're doing. Let's see the progress on it. Let me guess. You need some more time, and you need some more money. Just a guess. I bet you They haven't made it yet, have they? I'm not great at reading body language. Maybe we could get a psychologist to read the body language. This eyeball thing, the earlier face, the I'm hosed face, and then this I'm sure we'll get the dino chicken. Watch his, crazy eyes. What is this?
Able to make a dino chicken within the next 5 years.
So maybe there will be a dino chicken.
I'm sure there'll be a dino chicken.
You're sure that...
What is that? What is that? I'm sure there'll be a dino chicken in 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. Money back guarantee. I'll give you back all the money if we don't get there in 5 years. Bet you that's not the contract. Okay, not a fan. Not a fan. Not a Jack Horner fan. No, I'm not. So I didn't mean to go quite so long on this, but you came for the antics, the information, and this video. Thank you to the Discord member that shared it. This is Bob Enyart. Bob Enyart is no longer with us. I'm going to do a quick Google search for Bob Enyart. Bob Enyart, conservative firebrand pastor, dies of COVID. Known for his unwavering pro-life work. That's not the one I wanted. Right-wing radio talk show host. Urged people to boycott. This has died of COVID-19. Very much a Rob Skiba thing. I'm not going to read these because I can't. Self-proclaimed right-wing religious fanatic who urged the boycott of the COVID thing has died of COVID. 9 News. R.I.P. Bob. I don't know him well, but it's terrible. Either way, whatever happened there. This is Bob Enyart. Bob Enyart is I'm assuming apologist, something I've never heard his radio show. But he got together with the church he was in, and he raised $20,000. And he said to old Jack Horner, he said, "Hey Jack, we're going to give you a $20,000 grant to carbon date your fossil." This is science, right? This is science. Well, it's a phone call, and I don't believe Jack knew it was being recorded, and I'm not sure he knows to this day it's out there. I don't know. It's got 11,000 views. It's 8 minutes long. A couple things that aren't super important. I'm going to try not to interrupt the whole thing, but I'm closing on this. I'll do a quick closing statement afterwards. But the point for me playing this video is that I have these assumptions about the guy. He's an atheist. He has an agenda. He very embraced by the scientific popular media. Jurassic Park was, I didn't think about it when I was younger, but it's a lot of deep time kind of propaganda related to that movie. He takes Schweitzer in and controls the narrative. Basically, I consider him the arbiter of truth on this right now when I debate the atheists, and they go, yeah, no, cross-linking, this has been disproven. Schweitzer doesn't believe in your crazy young earth creation. Horner, I think, is vitally involved in a huge chunk of this. This, as a citizen amateur researcher of science, this is my deduction. So when this video was presented to me, I already had my biases, and I said, well, let's see, maybe I'm wrong about old Jack. And it doesn't seem as though I was, at least in my bias. Here we go.
Our website is kgov.com. We will put the audio of my conversation with Jack Horner, the Jurassic Park movie's technical advisor, on the end of this show, so you can hear the hesitancy and why they don't want to test their soft tissue T-Rex mine for carbon-14. Why not? Because they're going to find it.
Paleo.
Hello, could I speak to Jack Horner?
Yeah, who's calling?
This is Bob Enyart with KLTT Radio in Denver, Colorado. That's Bob Enyart.
Yeah, let me transfer you over to his office. I think he should be in there right now.
Hello?
Hello, Jack. This is Bob Enyart with KLTT Radio in Denver.
Uh-huh.
How are you doing?
Good.
Jack, I sent a letter to Bob Harmon a few weeks back offering the museum a grant of $8,000 to do a carbon-14 date test of that soft tissue T-Rex you guys dug up. And he said he would forward that to you. And I'm wondering if you saw that or considered it.
Well, carbon-14 doesn't work on something that old.
I understand that, and normally we wouldn't expect to get soft tissue out of a T-Rex skeleton either, but sometimes science proceeds by crossing your T's and dotting your I's, and you guys might have other things you'd like to carbon-14 at the same time. In fact, in the last couple of weeks, I've been able to raise a little more money, so that's up to $10,000 now, that we'd be honored to give you guys if you would consider doing that test.
Well, we can't do that test.
You can't do that?
No.
Do you mean the museum doesn't have the laboratory?
We certainly don't.
Okay, well, we're happy to pay the expense of having a lab do the test in addition to the $10,000 to the museum.
Do you know how carbon-14 works?
Yeah, I'm familiar, and I realize it's useless for anything over maybe 50,000 years or so. But I've done a talk show in Denver for 15 years.
Okay, I'm not going to go through this whole video like this, but if you saw my debate with Sebastian Cole on TikTok the other night, the only retort is that the only response they have is you can't carbon date this. You can't. Not that they did it and they didn't get a result. You can't carbon date it. And the reason they're saying that is their presupposition is that it's older than 50,000 years. So you can't do it because all the carbon material is going to be gone. And like Bob said here, well, yes, I understand you can't carbon date something that's older than 50,000 years old, but we also didn't expect to find soft tissues in here. So it's a real easy answer. There is a contamination, like when they carbon date, say, diamonds and coal, the argument can be made that it's contamination, it's just a tiny amount of it. Then carbon date this, and if it's a tiny amount, then you can just dismiss it and go, yeah, it's just a tiny amount. Nothing we would have expected. Nothing outside of what we'd have expected. But they won't do that with this. They literally won't carbon date it. And the answer is, you see how he's bullying Bob? Are you a sixth grader, Bob? Do you know how carbon dating works? We can't test that. We can't test it. What do you mean we can't test it? You don't have a radiometric dating lab there? Because I'll pay for a lab. I mean, do you know how this works? Just like, bullying him, gaslighting him like he would normally do. Just being very on brand for Jack Horner. Laughing awkwardly. I know I'm playing it on 125. You do lose a lot of the nuance of the discussion. The awkward long pauses, the laughing. It's super cringy.
And there's a group of folks interested in science. Of course, that discovery caught their attention, and they thought, well, it'd be logical to do this, to just go ahead and do it, even though nobody would be inclined to do it, just like nobody would be inclined to look for soft tissue inside of a T-Rex.
Well, and we're still trying to figure out what it is, what it's actually made of.
Right, exactly, whether it's hemoglobin or whatever.
Well,
did you hear him say we're trying to figure out what it is? And then the other video I showed you, he said, yeah, we've got vessels, proteins, and collagen. They're not trying to figure out what it is. That was a cover. They do this. I tried to explain this with the James Webb Space Telescope. They go, instrumentation, it's dust on the lens. They give it some time, and then they come up with their story, and they go, anybody that questions it is stupid. That's what they do. Him saying, he's bold lying right now. They knew it wasn't biofilm by the time this was done. This thing was released in 2011. I can't say that conclusively. They might not have actually conclusively said this yet, but they knew what it was. It was the structures, it was clear, it was viscous, it was malleable. They knew it was soft tissue. So they did play the whole, we don't even know if this is actually soft tissue, Bob. This could be biofilm, Bob. they played this game for a little bit. So he might have been actually playing that game. But by the time the video that I showed earlier, you know what? I'm going to actually look and see when that video is. I'm pretty sure he'd already come out at the TEDx conference and said they knew it was soft tissues. But he plays the game of we don't know what it is yet. So anyways.
What it's actually made of.
Right, exactly. Whether it's hemoglobin or whatever.
Well,
Jack, is the amount too small that it's just not worth the consideration?
No, that's not it.
Okay. What if I were able to raise more money?
No, the amount of money has nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because carbon-14 doesn't work on something like this,
right?
Your results that you get could be all over the place.
Well, they should be infinity. It should be not datable. In other words, it shouldn't come back saying it's 25,000 years old.
Right.
It should be infinity. And so that'll be a worthwhile...
Well, infinity isn't exactly what you get.
Okay.
I mean, it's like trying to date a piece of concrete.
Right. You
have to have carbon in it.
Okay, I just confirmed the video I played earlier was from 12 years ago. This video is from 11 years ago. So he had already said at a TED conference that it was absolutely soft tissues. Straight up lie. He said it was vessels, collagen, and protein. When he said we were trying to figure out what it is, he knew what it was already. Next thing is, it's like trying to carbon date concrete. This works if you're scientifically not that literate or you're just prone to gaslighting. That's it. Yeah, Bob, I'm sorry I asked you, Jack. I'm not a sixth grader, okay? It is concrete. I get that. It's not concrete. If I watched the video with you right now, they were moving it. It's malleable. It's like living tissue. It's fully flexible. I showed the video of what Mark Armitage had. He says it's like dating concrete. It's not like dating concrete, Jack. It's like dating soft, organic material. It's like dating skin cells, it's like cells, collagen, all of these kind of things. It's not like dating concrete. So Jack's playing this game, and I love this as a guy who likes suspense movies. You know, I used to like, movies like The Usual Suspects and Casino and these things, De Niro and Pacino and these like high level discussions. This is happening here. Enyart, R.I.P., is a sharp mind, and Horner is very intelligent, no question. Actually, he's super dyslexic like I am, which is cool. He doesn't like to read like I don't like to read. He's brilliant. Like, he's actually a brilliant guy. I don't dismiss his intelligence. He's able to control a room of 1,000 people with his mind, right? He's like Magneto. He is, it's just sizing it up. They're sizing each other up. They're two rams hitting heads, right? And Horner's trying all the different things. He's taking his time. Hey, you know, this is you can't date this thing. You mean you can't date it, or you don't have a lab? Exactly. Well, if you don't have a lab, we'll send it out. That's not what I mean. Okay, you need more money? It's not about the money. But what is it? Well, the thing is, if we test this, the results are going to be all over the place. And Bob keeps pecking at him. And he gets him to answer the tough questions. So he tries gaslighting. He tries a version of science. He tries intimidation. And then as it keeps going on, he reveals more and more. Bob handles this. I don't think I would have ever done this well. Unbelievable how well he does.
Right. You wouldn't use carbon-14. Now, the skeleton is not fossilized. Isn't that true, or largely not?
Well, it's the bone is made of calcium phosphate.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, we're still trying to figure out what the actual soft tissue is.
Right. And see, we were hoping that a test like this would just add another bit of scientific information that you would have at your disposal. And also, in that grant letter, we asked if it could be a blind test with 5 different specimens, and therefore then the museum could test 4 other specimens that you might want to have carbon-14 dated, and so you could put it all in the same batch, and those testing then will pay the cost of that. That'll be free to the museum plus the $10,000 grant.
Let me tell you where I'm coming from here.
Sure.
All right. Obviously, your group is a group of creationists.
Yes.
And the spin they can get off of it,
right,
doing it, is not going to help. Not going to help us.
Yeah.
There was so much hesitation. he was really trying to pick the right words here. What if I'm being recorded? Is this a recorded line? Well, see, the thing is, like, I know you're a creationist, and I know what the result's going to say. And the spin that they're going to have, which means when the scientific report comes back and says that the soft tissues are 22,000 or 29,000 years old or whatever, they're going to interpret the data correctly. So Jack Horner, as a professor of anti-truth, is saying that the data is going to be very bad for old Earth creation and for evolution. And I've got this whole dino bird thing, and like we've got a lot writing on this, and I'm like the guy. I'm like, my job is to squash this. So like the problem with you wanting to do this test is they're going to take the data that says that it's young and they're going to run with it. And you see how this puts me in a bad place, Bob. By the way, I'm getting 10x that from the federal government every 6 months or whatever I need. So I don't need your $20,000. I'm not lacking money because I'm in an area of science that the federal government loves throwing money at, flying to another planet and proving Charles Darwin. Somehow our government, like, I legitimately want to start a petition to stop funding evolution research. I don't have to worry about money, Bob. And the thing is, we both know what this test is going to result. We know what this is going to say. I love how Bob responds to this. I was trying to, for my video I'm making, I was trying to find a picture of the guy from Office Space. I can't think of his name right now, but that guy. Bob goes, Jack says to Bob, great names. Jack says, we know this is going to look really bad. It's going to look really bad for what we're doing here. And Bob goes, yeah, I hear you, Bob. Or I hear you, Jack. You're in a bad position here. Yeah, I get it, man. You're in a tough position here because you're totally lying to everybody. And like, this data is going to expose it. So like, yeah, I'm glad I'm not. Yeah, I understand that seat you're in is kind of hot.
Then they can get off of it.
Right.
And the spin they can get off of it.
Right.
Doing it is not going to help us.
Yeah. So even though it's just a scientific test, they're not asking for voodoo or anything.
It's not actually a scientific test. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Carbon-14 dating something with soft tissue in it. Jack, if I could raise $20,000, would it be worth?
You see how this thing's ramping up? It's so good. I could watch this all day. See, this is what I'm trying to tell you. So what I'm trying to tell you, Bob, this is not a scientific test. First, I'll go back. The spin is going to be bad for us. They're going to get it out and they're going to spin. It's going to be bad for what I do. It's going to be really bad for me as an individual. This is going to be a bad thing. And he goes, yeah, I get that. Which is why we should just do this and get it over with, because if we get this done, it'll be better science. He goes, what I'm trying to tell you here, which I haven't tried to tell you, but I'm trying to tell you, this isn't science. Because, Bob, you don't understand science. You don't understand science. And carbon-14 dating soft tissue isn't science. Because I am science, and I don't want to do this test. And you're a 6th grader. And Bob goes, I said carbon dating isn't a scientific test? He says that to him. Like, how ridiculous does Jack Horner sound here? Carbon dating isn't a scientific test? Jack? Just to be sure I understand your stance. It's going to be bad for you if we do the test, and it's not a scientific test. Good. Great.
Doing it is not going to help us.
Yeah. So even though it's just a scientific test, they're not asking for voodoo or anything.
It's not actually a scientific test. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Carbon-14 dating something with soft tissue in it.
He laughs.
Jack, if I could raise $20,000, would it be worth?
I will talk to Mary Schweitzer about it.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Okay. Let me tell you what happened here. This is like a Super Bowl, commentary. Sorry. It's my show. I guess I do the breakdown. You can watch the video without me talking. Be great. It's out there. I can put it in my link. It's called Bob Enyart Calls Jack Horner about carbon dating. At this moment, when Bob Enyart wins the argument, you've seen me win arguments against atheists. I've lost arguments. I've won arguments. At this moment, Bob has been very polite. He's answered every scientific inaccuracy that Jack has lobbied at him with a, hubris-driven kind of perceived high ground. And he's answered each one of them, and he's hurled them back, and he's won every single point so far. Up until the one where Jack, trying to get his words correctly, says, if I do this test, they're going to use it against me, and it's not going to look good for what we're doing. This is his project. It's not going to look good for me. Not doing a carbon-14 test, doing a scientific test. It's not a scientific test. It's not a scientific test. And he goes, doing carbon-14 dating on soft tissue isn't a scientific test. Horner's done. Tilted done. He laughs. Almost like a demon comes out. All right, Bob. Let's go. He's done. No more Mr. Nice Guy. It's done.
That. And how about this? I'll resend you the grant letter with the amount of $20,000 in it. And then you could talk to Mary and we'll see where it goes.
I want to know what group is sponsoring it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I need some really specific details about.
Sure.
And don't just tell it to me straight.
Of
okay.
course. I've hosted a daily talk show for 15 years. We're on a 50,000 watt AM station, KLTT,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a local church here, Denver Bible Church,
Mm-hmm.
that's offered to help. But we also have pledges from any number of individuals in the Denver community.
Okay.
So we could, if you guys agree, we could send you the check within 24 hours.
Okay. Well, let me talk to Mary, and let me just talk to a few people.
Okay.
Because I don't want to, I can't afford to have it turn into a circus.
Right. Well, I do understand that, and I appreciate your time. So,
okay. I will see Mary this next week.
Oh, that's fabulous. I'd be happy to call you back in 2 weeks from now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you so much, Jack.
You're very welcome.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay. So, let's just talk about the org chart. Jack is the boss. Okay? Jack is the lead dog here. He doesn't need to talk to Mary about this. He's using Mary like he used Mary this whole time. He's using Mary because he has a protege that he can, I guess, whatever. She's pretty. She's a female scientist. She's a Christian. She's everything he needs to cover this whole thing up. Let me talk to Mary and a few other people. Who's he talking to? Who is Jack Horner talking to? I would love to know. I doubt I'll ever know. But he's the boss. He's getting his money from the federal government. He's got no gatekeeper above him, in theory. And his way out of this is to say, let me talk to Mary and a few other people, because I don't need a circus here, Bob. I don't need a circus. And this is going to be a circus because the whole gig is up with this. I have to stress this again. Imagine the newspaper tomorrow. Soft tissues in dinosaur bones prove that dinosaurs are less than 50,000 years old. Dinosaurs roamed the earth less than 50,000 years ago. What does this mean for every one of their assumptions? It's the same thing how the Big Bang is already done, and when they find out the universe is I have on footage, and I saved the video of Professor Chaos, the astronomer, professor of astronomy that we were debating in front of all those 100 people on TikTok. I have him saying, I said, what will it take for you to give up the Big Bang? Everything you've predicted has been wrong. And he said, if we find stars outside of 13.8 billion years, or maybe he said 14 billion years, I'll know the Big Bang is wrong. And I said, I'll book you as soon as that comes out. What a accident that guy made. When I have discussions with Professor Chaos and these other people that are like this guy, that are professors, like, this is why I don't mind engaging with them. I know where they're coming from. His claim is that, the universe is going to end at fully formed galaxies at 13.5 billion years and then nothing after that. I'll take the over, Professor Chaos. And the same thing's going on here. It's done. Darwin, deep time, everything they thought they knew. Because, again, the stratigraphy, the layers. If I were to go watch that stated clearly video that I went over, if you don't, I'm not going to do it now, but go back to my last deep dive on the top 5 reasons the universe is younger than we were taught. I covered the Stated Clearly piece on PBS, where it's animated and NPR guy goes, kids, you don't need to worry about the dinosaur soft tissues. It actually makes a lot of sense. Mary Schweitzer proved evolution, blah, 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 cross-linking. In that, he says, well-informed thinkers. One of the options that the soft tissue was there is because it could have been young, and that was their number one point. But then he said, in their classic doublespeak, their number one point is least likely because of well-informed thinkers. They know that dinosaur bones have been radiometrically dated in a certain layer of strata, period. That's the whole thing. If that perceived age, that B-Rex was found under 300 feet of silt or whatever in the Badlands, if it turns out that was deposited less than 50,000 years ago, the whole thing is done. Do you understand the stakes? The whole thing is done. That means that 50,000 years ago, the Badlands dumped 300 feet of sediment and killed the dinosaurs. Where does Homo neanderthalis and Homo habilis and Homo builder the wheel and Homo created the fire and Homo builder the stone nail, where do they come from? Where are they? You know what you have? 5,000 years ago, boom, life showing up in the Fertile Crescent, right, like the Bible said. Boom, the dinosaurs being killed in a flood. That's why they're in fossils. It's game over. Game over. And this is the stakes. And this is what Jack Horner is doing. And he's holding on for dear life like Emperor Palpatine. He's got to be in his 90s. 446, 60, 85, whatever. And he's still trying to build his robo-chicken. He's got the carrot on the stick. 5 more years. Give me 5 more years. He's just going to keep this thing going. And probably Mary Schweitzer's going to take on after that. Like, I imagine she's the guy that's going to take on the narrative. Because she's out there right now blasting everybody who questions, like she was as a young Earth creationist, evolution. Blasting them. And she's the perfect archetype for this. Because she was a young Earth creationist. But she's reformed. And she understands that the story is a fairy tale. And she believes in God in that innocuous way that they let you believe in God. Where he doesn't matter and his story doesn't matter. And, sin and Jesus. Those things don't matter. They let you have that version. But the version where the Bible is true, they won't let you have that. And it's these guys that enforce this. By telling you you're a 6th grader. And you don't understand the science. And we got a call. This is a huge moment in apologetics. This call is game changing. This whole thing is. Anyways. I have a video I'll be releasing, God willing, by Thursday. It's a 10-minute piece, super consolidated version of this. 3.5 minutes is this call. 3-ish minutes is a bunch of B-roll, or the rest of it's narration. I'm putting it together. It's titled something like, was the scientist who was the inspiration for the lead role in Jurassic Park responsible for a major conspiracy to hide the best discovery, the most amazing discovery in recent scientific history. Something super wordy, because that's what I do. So look for that on TikTok. Please share it. Look for that on YouTube. I understand these are going to be hard to share. Hopefully you watched it. I'm going to put it up on the podcast on Podbean. If you guys aren't following us on Podbean, please do go find us on Podbean. Voice of Reasons Official, same thing. And then we'll release that on YouTube and TikTok by Thursday. And then it's to work on both the interviews and the next top 5 video, which we're going to try and get out by the first Sunday of July. So that's the update. Thank you for being here. Keep having confidence in Scripture. It is the official written tradition, written history of the living God. And science is going kicking and screaming into validating it. And we're watching it in real time. Stay tuned.